Please welcome in J'den Cox. J'den, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here, and so this was pretty awesome. So answer all your guys' questions and get into it, man.
Today, very special day. Not only because we have you on the show, but it is the 3-year anniversary from the drought that ended in Paris. 22 years the United States hadn't won a team world title, and today marks that 3-year anniversary. So let's start there. You were a big part of that 2017 team title run where you finished with a bronze medal. But what were your favorite memories from the Paris World Championships?
My favorite memories. I have quite a few. You know, I have quite a few. I had a great time with Thomas Gilman. I spent a lot of time with him there in the sauna and stuff. There was one instance where we kind of went at it with each other. We were cutting weight, and you know, when you get cutting weight, you got in your moods and whatnot. But there's this door to the sauna that wouldn't stay shut. And like people would go out and they would just let the door fly open and they wouldn't shut the door or close. And so finally one person walks in, lets the door hang open. I'm like, why would you just shut the door, please? And it was Gilman. And Gilman, you know, those who don't know, Gilman is a guy who's like, you know, he doesn't stand down to nobody. That's why I respect him so much. And he's just like, well, if you weren't on the ground and kind of comes at me, he's like, if you weren't on the ground, you would be, you know, it wouldn't be such a problem. I was like, you know what, I'll get the door. I'll get the door. Good. But no, man, I loved it. You know, I think for me, especially since that was my second team, and getting to settle in a little bit more, being a part of Team USA and getting to know the guys more, that was probably the biggest part. You know, going out and getting stuff to eat, hanging around each other, really getting familiar. And I think it was kind of a blessing that the team that I was with from 2016 to 2017 and really up to this point, it hasn't drastically changed too much. So it's been really cool to continue those bonds and growing with those guys.
Where were you at when the epic matchup between Abdulrashid SADULAEV and Kyle SNYDER was going on? Were you in the back? Were you mat side? Where were you at?
Oh no, I was in the stands. I was in the stands. I was there for that match. I wanted to see it. I wanted to embrace it. I mean, that was the match. Like, it's hard to explain for those people that weren't there, and maybe even if you weren't there, there was still some. But like, if you were there, it was crazy. I don't think in any wrestling event, even at the NCAA's, I've ever experienced one match create such hype and like volume in one area in so many people. It was amazing. And then I remember, I remember after Kyle had won, I remember I sprinted. I got up and I sprinted from the stands. And I ran to the tunnel to run downstairs, and I'm running through, and I'm going downstairs. And everybody's going from Team USA is going crazy. You know, it's just amazing. It was an amazing time, and it was really awesome.
I remember that tunnel that you're speaking of. First off, the security in Paris was top-notch. They would not let anybody get through. But I videotaped the tunnel celebration. I just remember everyone going. It was cool to see. But especially with me being American, it was just something that I had never experienced before. And it was only my second World Championships. But you said it was your second time on Team USA, and your first, of course, came at the 2016 Olympic Games. And I want to start there. Usually we start with how did your wrestling background get started, but we'll skip over that. And we'll go to 2016. And you said that was your first year. And it was a unique experience because not many wrestlers have the opportunity to wrestle at Olympic Games before a World Championships. And I want to get your perspective here because when we talk about that, I asked Taha Akul, who eventually won the Olympic Games in 2016. He had the same experience. He wrestled in the 2012 Olympic Games before wrestling in the 2013 World Championships. And he said the expectation at that time were very high, which was a burden to me and a loss. I told myself that I'm still very young and I wasn't ready for an Olympic medal. So I want to get your standpoint on being young and wrestling at the Olympic Games before the World Championships. What was your mentality like heading into the Olympic Games? Were you ready to win an Olympic medal, or were you just using it as a stepping stone to maybe the next Olympic Games?
Well, no, I definitely, I don't compete to not, I think and I think maybe, and if I understand this wrong, like I think we compete to win. I mean, we don't compete now. What we tell ourselves in our mind or in our hearts, that's completely different. But we always compete with the desire to win, even if we don't believe it. I think that's just an athletic mindset. You know, that's an athlete's mindset. You're going to try it. Now, our mindset can definitely change that. But no, I definitely compete to win. I know for me in 2016, and I think it's still a little bit to this day, I definitely had a chip on my shoulder. I felt that people didn't believe in me to win a medal. I felt that people didn't think that I was supposed to be there. And whether or not they were right or not, which obviously now we know that they weren't, but not they were right or not, it was for me to prove them wrong, you know, like to prove them wrong. And it's like, and I think also, I think for me, and if anything, I was more of the mindset, and this is one of the reasons why I want to go back. Obviously, I want to win a gold medal, but for me, I kind of took this mindset of, you know what, you're not supposed to be here. So let's tear some stuff up. Like let's go ahead and if we're not supposed to win, you know, then hey, why not? Let's just show up and put our best foot forward. And if you lose, well, then everybody was right and whatever. And if you win, then you win. And that was my mindset both for the 2016 trials and for the Olympics. You know, and I knew that it was something I wanted. And I wanted to be here. I think 2016 was a really weird year for me as far as my mentality towards wrestling. And I think that kind of stemmed a lot of change in me with how I mentally and even spiritually prepare to compete.
How so? What changed?
Well, I think that I used to, you know, I used to always think that you had to be sure, you know, like you had to be sure. And I remember Mike Ironman, you know, he was my corner coach at the Olympics. You know, he said this to me too, and he said he found this out earlier. He never told me this, but like that you had to be sure. You had to have the mindset. You had to know that I was going to win. I was going to be the best. Like you got to dominate in every match. And really, in the reality, like you didn't have to be. You didn't have to be. Because I wasn't sure. On all those matches, I wasn't sure. And then the reality of it is it's like really none of us are ever really sure. You can't be sure. You can believe what you want to believe, all that you want, but you can never be 100% on point. Like, oh, this is what's going to happen. This is wrestling, and it's funny how we're going to have a mindset and say that like, oh, I have to have the mindset that I'm going to be this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, but then we're going to turn around and then say, this is wrestling, anything can happen. And I think if anything, it made me stronger to not necessarily, and it's not like a doubt, it's just accepting what's going to happen and being the willingness to accept it and go through whatever comes in your way. And I think the only thing that we can say that we're going to be 100% is resilient. You know, to wrestle, and to wrestle is to struggle. You know, that's literally the term, like, especially when you read in the Bible, you know, God uses the word wrestle as like you struggle with this. This is something that's a burden on you. And so for this, like wrestling, that's constantly what it is. And so I think for us, it's to be resilient. It's for us to fight and to battle back. And so that's where I kind of came back and just like it kind of just changed, and it made my pre-matches more relaxed. I was chill. I was laid back. It was just like, it's just accept that whatever's going to be is going to be, but I know what I'm going to be, and that's resilient, and I'm just going to give my best. And it really, yeah, it definitely changed everything. It changed everything. I remember my walkout was completely different. You know, I'll run you through it. So my walkout, you know, I'm getting ready to face this guy. I don't look at him. I stay away from him. Like, I don't look at him. I stay away from him. I'm probably singing or dancing, talking, cracking, relaxed. And so, but I'm staying away. This guy's not real. This match is not real. I stay away from him as long as possible. And then, you know, I'm getting ready to go out there. I'm bouncing. I'm ready to go. I'm bouncing. I jump up on the stage. The stairs are there and everything. And I take each one and I jump up on there and I start pacing. And I pace and I look up and I'm looking up and I'm saying my prayer. And it's a very simple prayer. It's just, God, allow me to wrestle to the best of my ability, which you blessed me with. And I say my prayer and I still don't look at this guy. This guy is across the way, is on the line or pacing. Whatever he's doing, I don't know. I don't care. And then from the corner of my eye, I'll see the ref. The ref will reach his hand out. He reaches his hand out to signal for me to come to the center. So I come to the center. I still don't look at him. My eyes don't meet his eyes. It's not real. It doesn't matter yet. It doesn't matter. And I don't look at him. And people sometimes look at weakness. It's a weakness to not look your opponent in the eye. It's like, no, I don't look my opponent in the eye because that's not the one I'm facing. I'm facing the one that I see in the mirror every single day. That's the one that matters. This guy is just unfortunately in my way. That's the only thing. He does not matter. So finally, the referee goes in. I shake his hand. I look up. It's time to go. Like, that's my focus. My focus is just on me. It has nothing to do with the counterpart. He's just there. He's just a part of it to help me succeed to where I'm trying to go.
Did you ever struggle against the man in the mirror?
For sure, all the time. I think the man, and the thing is, like, that's your toughest opponent, because this guy, the guy that you face, that guy, you only face him in wrestling. The person that you face in the mirror, you face in life, you face with your mentality, you face with your spirituality, you face with everything. You face that opponent in more ways, and there's more ways to beat yourself, for that opponent to beat you than this one right here. And there are more ways that opponent in the mirror can beat you in more important ways than the guy on the mat can. So, like, the guy that you're facing when you step on the mat is the person you've been waking up and looking at in the mirror when you wake up every morning. So I think that is something we have to realize. And when you finally realize that, it makes it so, like, these nerves that sometimes that we feel, like the anticipations, it's like, it's not about them, it's about you, And when you make it about you, it's a little easier to relax.
Extremely powerful. A lot of young wrestlers can learn from that. I know I struggled during my career with the person in the mirror as well. And I finally took that next step when I put everyone else behind me and started putting myself forward. But let's talk about the Olympic Games. Of course, you lose to Salem Yassar in the semifinals. Fight back, and against Salas Perez, you pick up that takedown late, and it wasn't initially called a takedown. You had to get the review, and I believe there was under 5 seconds left. And what's going through your mind at that point? Did you know it was a takedown? Because you get to the single, switch off to the double, hands locked, set him on his hips, you hook, the whole 9 yards. You get there, but did you know that it was going to be called a takedown at that point?
Being called one, no, but getting the takedown, yes, I knew that was a takedown, especially when I had him down and I stepped over, even with him having he had my right ankle and it was pulled to my butt. I stepped over with that leg and had him straddled with 2 legs, head on the outside. Like, even if he has an ankle, which that shouldn't save you for that being a takedown, that I was like, that's 2. There's no other. If I would have stayed off to the side, maybe, maybe. When I stepped over and straddled for even a split second, but got over top of him, had him, like, I'm like, that's 2. Now, whether or not it was going to be called, I didn't know. I mean, I had faith and I had hope, and the refs made the call. I think, and I think that was kind of a funny moment, because I remember against Yassar, who's a great guy, by the way. I met him. But I've had the pleasure of meeting him a couple times after the fact. Very respectful gentleman. But like, I remember against Yassar, I have a hearing impairment. So I did not hear that my coaches were telling me or screaming to me that I was losing that match until like the last 5 seconds, right? And I remember I was literally, if you ever get a chance, go back and watch that match. I was literally 1 second away.
1 second, if that.
At the end. And I thought it was funny, because then I think I was like, God plays in funny ways, because when I faced Salas, and I got that takedown, there was 6 seconds left. And obviously we know he walked away. And I remember in my head I was thinking, man, what I would give for 6 seconds. Like, I would give anything for 6 seconds instead of 5. So I think I'm like, God's funny, but I wrestled my heart out, my matches out, and and for that I was very proud. Like, at that moment, that Olympic bronze, getting the bronze, I was ecstatic for that.
And I saw you the next day in Rio, and I wanted to ask you, and it's been 4 years since I've had the opportunity to actually get the explanation from you, but that's interesting because there was so many speculation all over. He didn't understand the rules. He was fairly new to freestyle, but for you to explain that, it makes a lot of sense. But let's move on to the 2017 World Championships. You're 12-1 in World Championship competition. Your only loss at the World Championships came to Boris Mokoyev. But more importantly, what I want to touch on is it's really been a tale. If you look at your production from 2018 and 2019 back to 2017, it's 2 different J'den Coxes. And in one period in particular, in 2017, you gave up 13 first period takedowns. Or
right.
Excuse me, first period points. In 2018, you gave up 1 point. In 2019, 0 points. So what did you learn in 2017 that really made you start getting on the offense a lot earlier? Because in the second period, you've poured on the points. You've given up 5 points in 3 years in the second period. But like I said, first period, totally different. So what changed?
Well, I think that I changed where I was training. You know, in 2017 was still a transition year for me as far as life. You know, I was getting into coaching, and I was still coaching at Mizzou, trying to figure that out. I was still finishing up some classes for school and stuff. And so I think it was just a transition year for me personally. So I think that played a little bit of part of it. And I think also once I left Missouri, you know, I was just like, you know what, this isn't really doing it for me as far as the training I need or the focus that I need on the technique. And I actually moved out to Colorado with KJ. KJ did a great job as far as, you know, having a plan, basically knowing what I needed. And it was a blessing because sometimes you get with coaches and they're great coaches, but they're not great coaches for you, you know? And so, you know, I was blessed to, you know, get with somebody who understood what I needed, understood where I was lacking maybe technically. And I think a lot of things were technically, like hand fighting was not a strong suit for me. Even baseline defense was not a strong suit for me. I had great defense, but it was like a lot of scrambling. It was a lot of, okay, like I'm gonna let you get in and then trying to fight out of being in deep trouble when KJ's like, no, just don't let yourself get into deep trouble, and being disciplined. And there was like a conditioning aspect to that, and there was just a lot to focus on, you know, with the hand fight, with, you know, there's the making the choices to do the right things, even though you know you can do this, but why do it with you? Why need to scramble if you don't need to? So I think that there was a bit of that. I still think there was a learning curve, obviously. You know, I had not, one of my models I remember coming into freestyle was 2016 was, you know, like, I may not know freestyle, but I know how to wrestle, you know? And so that was kind of one of my mottos. And so then it transitioned to like, you know, I need to focus more on, you know, the techniques and the ways that I want to continue to thrive if I want to get to where I want to be. And that was on top of the podium. And so, I mean, KJ did a great job as far as like, you know, having the plan, focusing on what I wanted to focus on, what I needed to focus on. And I think that was a huge thing. You know, he really didn't focus on what I wanted. He focused on what I needed. And, you know, and so that, you know, worked wonders, and I trusted him. And we just went from there on. And from there on, like you said, the stats speak for themselves, and, you know, making those adjustments. I didn't even know those stats until just now. So, I mean, yeah, making those adjustments.
And to go even further on it, you haven't given up a first period point in your last 7 matches, and you haven't trailed heading into the second period in 7 world championship matches. It's extremely impressive. But we'll move to the 2018 world championships, and I think this was a defining moment in your career, because when you look at, you had, and I wouldn't say the opportunity, but you stood on the podium and you listened to the Russian national anthem in 2016. In 2017, you listened to the Iranian national anthem. And you lost in the semifinals in the Olympics and in the World Championships in 2017. But against Ali Reza Karimi Machiani in 2018 was that defining moment when you broke through that wall, and you watched the last 5 seconds of that match, and it wasn't you winning the world title, it was you winning the semifinals. And you just stayed here it was a good 10 seconds. There was 5 seconds left in the match, and you stayed there. What's going through your mind at that point that you finally broke through? Was that what you were thinking about?
Yeah, you know, just to get so close. And like, I think for me, like, obviously you want to be on the podium, but like, I think at the time I just wanted an opportunity. You know, I wanted an opportunity, a chance to be there, a chance to get there. And you know, I wanted a chance to compete for my dream. And that's as simple as that. You know, I just wanted a chance to compete for it, let alone get it. Like, I want a chance to be there. Give me an opportunity. Let that time when it starts be for a gold medal match, you know, and that's really what that was. And, you know, I'd sacrificed so much. I moved away from my home. I came out here and you know, I changed, everything changed from my dieting to my training. I brutalized myself. Everything I pushed myself through. I climbed mountains and I climbed, you know, I did everything. You know, I went up this incline. It's 2,700 something steps. I ran up it, and, you know, I ran up it as fast as I could. And I remember I did a push-up for every stair down. It took me 3 hours. Like, I just brutalized. I ran 6 miles, you know, every other day for practice to start my lifts in the morning. Like, I just did everything that I gave everything that I could, you know. And so at the time that I thought I could, because I definitely have found that there's a lot more to give. But I mean, I wanted to, you know, I just did everything, and I didn't want to waste it. So to see that I gave myself the opportunity and I had the people help me get there. It was amazing, you know.
You end up winning against Jankowski in the finals of 2018. But before we get to you watching the American flag being raised, after the match, you said something like, "You don't want to wrestle." You were not too happy with him. Do you remember that?
I do.
What was that about?
It was, so that whole match, if you ever get the chance to go watch that match, go watch it. I'm like, I come after this guy pretty much the whole entire match. You know, I'm completely controlling him, moving him around, going in and trying to get to shots. And he wasn't really trying to get to anything much. And then the last 30 seconds, you know, I'm up, I think at the time I'm up by 2 because he got put on 2 passivities. And then, you know, and then like, I remember the refs kind of stepped in and kind of called me for fleeing, and they gave him 1. And it's just kind of like, that ticked me off too, because it's just like, but it comes back to him. It's like, you're just trying to win the match. You want to be given this match. You don't want to win it. You don't want to beat me. You know, you just want to win. There's a difference. And so, like, that's why I was kind of upset about that, because, you know, I came here to win a match, to earn a match, not to be handed one. And so I think that's why I was kind of upset, because it felt like where I was trying to wrestle and put points up and get somewhere, and somebody was, you know, people have to understand, when you're wrestling the best in the world, it's very easy for guys to stay in matches to keep people at bay. And so, like, for me, that was just a frustrating part. And it's just like, you know, that's why I said, like, you didn't want to wrestle me. You don't want to be here. This wasn't real for you. So that's where I was coming from on that.
I wondered that. I watched it, and you can kind of sense that just from the pace of the match. But then, of course, you hear Kevin Jackson, and I've had an opportunity, I think now, to cover 7 world championships or Olympic Games, and that's across all age levels. And Kevin Jackson, whenever someone who he is coaching wins a world title, he chants "world champ" from the time you get off the mat to when he's carrying you. So you're finally hearing Kevin Jackson screaming "world champ." What's that like?
That was awesome. You know, I remember, you know, we get down, we get our hands raised. I go over, shake the other coach's hands, and I remember jumping into his arms and just being like, it's because you got to understand, like, those titles, there may be one person on the podium, but there should be that first place podium. Any position on the podium should be a huge block, so that your family, your friends, your coaches, your teammates, your partners can stand up there. Because yes, there may be one person standing up there with a smile, but that spot is definitely, you know, that podium is definitely missing the faces of those who help you and help put you on there. And that, for me, is, you know, that was amazing, because I don't see the podium as just a place that I want to get to. I see it as a place that I want to get to because of Kevin, of you know, my previous coaches, of my family, of the people that I represent, of America itself. You know, like, I want to reach that, because I don't want to let down those who have helped and sacrificed along with me to help me get there. You know, that's been a huge factor for me on that.
Speaking of the podium, you're watching that American flag being raised, and is it overwhelming? Do you just black out, or do you remember being up there? Because you've been there twice now, but do you remember that flag being raised, hearing the national anthem? What's going through your mind at that point?
You know, I definitely remember that. Like, you don't forget it, because that comes along with being on top of that podium. I remember in 2017, after the Paris Worlds, I had said in an interview, it's like, I just want to hear my national anthem play. Is that too much to ask, you know? And I think for me, it's like, when you hear your national anthem play, that's when you know it's real. Like, it's very real. Like, yeah, you did it, but now that you're on there, like, it definitely, it's like, nope, now this is the moment. And, you know, I think especially, like, with, you know, obviously we all know there's a lot of things going on in our country to this day, you know, especially in the U.S. And, like, for me, you know, like, I don't stand like I have a blindness to the things that are happening within America, within the U.S. of A. I stand because I have hope for it to get better. You know, I stand because I believe that, you know, overall, whether or not it was against people who were against others and people who maybe had a wrong intention and stuff, it was something that was built on hope and having a dream. And I'm hoping that, and I have a dream that, you know, things can get better. So I mean, that's why I stand, and that's why I put my hand over my heart. And it's, like I said, it's not a blindness to things that are happening. It's a, you know, it's a hope for a better future. And so that's why I represent that and hold that high, and keep hold of that. Because if you lose hope and you lose faith and everything, then we won't go anywhere.
And moving to 2019, we'll just quickly touch on it. We're running out of time here. You outscore your opponents 27-0 at the World Championships, win your second world title. But after that, you announce that you're going to be moving from 92 kilos to 97. And this is something we have to talk about. I always say to people, there's stuff that I want to talk about and stuff I have to talk about. And this is one of those things I have to talk about when we have you on the show. Of course, we asked for fan questions. If we got 1,000 of them, 900 of them had to deal with you, SADULAEV, SNYDER, David Taylor, who knows. But you make that announcement, and you either could go down to 86 or up to 97. 97 kilos now has Getsalov Olympic champion, SADULAEV Olympic champion, SNYDER Olympic champion, Sharifov Olympic champion, and you throw your name into that. What is going through your mind? Why would you want to put yourself in that position where you have to compete with 4 Olympic champions?
Life's too short to run away from greatness. You know, I think that's for me. I think that I have a lot of respect for all of those guys. You know, I mean, you can't deny that those are amongst some of the, you know, the greatest as of now. You know, some of the greatest wrestlers we have in the world. And I would actually be willing to argue that I think 97 is one of the most stacked weight classes in the world. But I think that when I looked to make this choice, you know, it was definitely a legacy choice. You know, it was definitely like, you know, I want to put my best foot forward. And it's not very often in life that you get opportunity to test yourself, you know. And I think that's something that I wanted. That's something that I desired. And I think some people, you know, see it as me, like, you know, I think I've seen some people think that, like, oh, you know, he has no respect, like he's kind of trash on these guys. No, I respect them to the utmost. You know, I do. I respect what they've done, who they are. I met these guys. You have to understand, I've met these guys in person. You know, I've had conversations with SADULAEV. You know, I've wrestled Sharifov a few times, and you know, obviously I trained with Kyle and everything. So I mean, these guys, you know, I have a tremendous respect for, and I just want to put my best foot forward and come out top, man. That's the goal. And I think that for me, it's just I don't know. I think it's just gonna be fun. I don't know why people look at that and they say, "Why would you do that?" Like, it looks like a great time. Like, I don't see. We're gonna have a good party here. Let's go. Let's get it going. So I'm into it, man. I'm excited for it. And like I said, I just want to put my best. Like, I want them to face my best. I want to face their best. Purely for the sport. Like, it's like there's no running, there's no hiding, there's no nothing. Like, you guys are the best of the best, and you know, I'm looking to solidify myself as one of the best of the best still to this day. And so to do that, you know, you guys unfortunately are the ones that I'm gonna have to go and face, and you're gonna have to face me, unfortunately, and that's gonna be what's gonna be. If we could all be champs, it would be great. It would be wonderful, but we can't. And so, yeah, I look forward to it for sure.
If there's one person that you could meet in the Olympic finals, 4 Olympic gold, out of those 4 wrestlers, who would you pick?
Well, I mean, I think the obvious answer would be SADULAEV. I mean, he's the best pound for pound wrestler in the world. I don't think there's been anyone to even come close to debunking that title, in my opinion. You know, and the awkward one, if we could have 2 USA guys in there, I would choose SNYDER. Because I think, like, the way I think about it, and I know it's going to be different, but to me, in my mind, and how I think about wrestling, I see SNYDER as being the second pound for pound best wrestler in the world. Reason being, and I know, like I said, people are going to be like, oh, I have my reason being on that is just because, one, he has beaten SADULAEV in the midst of a prime too. So it is SADULAEV's So they're both in their prime. So I mean, he has beaten them, and I think that, you know, when you think about someone being the best, if you're gonna, especially in the sport of wrestling, and we claim and we say and we all agree that SADULAEV is the best, you know, when someone has to really focus in on you, you know, I know people watch the 2018 match and they see it like, oh, it was so quick, but it's just like SADULAEV still had to question, had to go back, you know. When you have that ability to make someone that good go back and rewrite a game plan and figure things out, and that to me is a show of greatness on your part. And so that's not me being biased because, you know, Kyle is a part of the U.S. That's just me saying, like, I recognize how great SADULAEV is. And so for that to be the case and seeing that recognition and me giving that respect, the fact that Kyle, you know, makes people have to do that and made the best pound for pound have to do that makes me see him as one of the best in the weight class. So,
and that's someone who you're going to have to go through, of course, to make the Olympic team. But we're out of time here, and this is the last question. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to let you run. I could do this all day, but
have me back. I'll answer all your questions.
Yeah, absolutely. You're welcome back anytime. But how long are you do you plan on wrestling for? I mean, this will be 2020 would be your second Olympic Games. Do you plan on going to Paris?
So, was it? It's 2020. So I plan on wrestling until 2024 for sure. I am not sure past that. So I know 2024 is for sure going to happen. That's what I want to do. But and 2028 is kind of, it's not out of the question for me at all. It's actually something I've been thinking about pretty heavily. And I think for me, it will come at where I'm at in life, like just away from wrestling, where am I at in life? And, you know, I'm not really worried about my body necessarily. I'm in like I said, I'm in my prime. I feel healthy. So where I'm at in life, and if I find something that like I want to dedicate my life to rather than wrestling, you know, so I will figure that out when I come to it. But 2024, yeah, don't think you guys are gonna get rid of me that quick. So I'm gonna be around for sure.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. Where can everyone follow you on social media, Jaden?
So you can follow me here on Instagram at jmiz_CEUSA. And then you can follow me on my Twitter at Matrix _8692. And yeah, those are the two big ones. So you guys follow me on there, check me out, and maybe you learn some sign language on there. Check some videos out, man. So we'll do it, man. But I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me. And yeah, man, keep your eyes peeled for this next coming year because it's going to be crazy. So
yeah. Thank you so much for joining us. I've been Eric Olanowski. Make sure you're following United World Wrestling on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Subscribe on YouTube. And if you haven't already, purchase a We Will Wrestle Again t-shirt. It's helping those organizations impacted negatively by COVID-19. UWWstore.com. We will have Vinesh, the face of women's wrestling in India, on tomorrow. That'll be up in a couple of weeks. But once again, Jaden, thank you so much for joining us. Until next time, wrestling fans, take care.